Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Keith here, hanging out with Jesse, just cleaning up the bench as we literally just finished our last build. We got a mess to deal with, about to start a next build. We're going to use our awesome cowhide wipes from ProNoobRC. Get this guy clean as we like to do. We use them more for cleaning off the bench and the mess we make with all this weathering and crap we do. This mat's taking a bit of a beating. We're probably going to have to look at getting a new one soon, as it's not quite up to the visual standards of YouTubeology. Is that a thing?
I think so.
Good, let's go with that. Yeah, anyhow, tonight we are planning on building, not building more or less, converting our Axial SCX10-III Gladiator from portals over to these solid axles. Awesome truck, you guys. We like it. We enjoy it. If you check back, we did the build on this a little while ago. We got the tonneau cover in the back, and that comes from CGRC, you guys. That rear tonneau cover cleans it up, gets rid of that bed rack. The bed rack's cool. We like that look. We did a roof rack on the top. That's from Night Customs. And we got the Traxxas TRX4 light bar on the front from the Defender. Fits in there really nice, super bright, really nice scale looking unit. Anyhow, it's a good looking truck. The portals on it just gotta go. We're gonna change out the wheels and the tires. They are a really nice rim, but we do want to tuck the wheels inside just a little bit. So we're gonna go with a new wheel from GCM Racing, and we're gonna go with a Pitbull PBX all-terrain tire, as we want to get this guy looking low and scale. So it's a good looking truck the way it sits right now. It's kind of gonna be a shame to take it away from what it is now, but once we get her on the straight axles and lower down and stuff, it's going to be a completely different animal. It's going to look so much better. It's going to look good. It looks great right now. It's going to look good just in a different way. So you can't take nothing away from this truck. Actually did a great job. It's a sharp looking truck. The stock Gladiators look poopy because they have small tires on them, like the real ones, but these RC ones look great because they already have the big lift with the big tires and such. But we're going to lower that down, get it looking a little more like a scale one. Anyhow, I'm going to quit talking. We're going to get to work. Let's rip this guy apart. Stay tuned and go. Okay guys, under the hood you can see we still got the basic RTR. Only thing we really did in this thing was strung in the TRX4 8 LED light kit, and we put in a electric switch so we can control the lights. And this truck actually, if you check out the video, has the scale built off Instagram light up like GPS navigation display on it, so it's super cool. The truck had a 2-speed servo in it, but I actually took the servo out and donated it to a friend for his Capra. I don't use the 2-speed on it, so we just wired it in good enough. It can just stay that way. When we're inside the transmission in the next few minutes here, doing the gear change in there, I might just see if I can lock it out internally. We're not going to use second gear. First gear's good enough. So there's not enough of a difference between first and second gear on the Axial vehicles to really care about losing second gear. So Jesse says it's got to go.
It's got to go.
Don't play that. Homie, don't play that. Okay guys, get that apart. We're going to want to pull off both axles. You're going to have to change out the panhard mount and all that. Anyhow, first off, let's look at what we get in the box.
Bring me the box.
Bring in the box. Okay guys, the kit comes like this, complete AR-45. You get the rear, the front axle, 400mm shocks. We're not going to use those. You know it's a rock crawler. We want it to be as low as possible. If we have to, we will, but I don't. There's different shock holes on the truck. We're going to be able to pull off what we need with the 90s, so that's out of the question. It does come with a set of rear upper links, a new panhard bar, a new panhard mount, a piece of the drive shaft. I think it's an extension piece of the drive shaft for when you're using the 100mm shocks. We're not going to use that with the 90mm shock. I don't think we need it. I'll let you know as we get into that. Obviously, and then 2 gears for the transmission we're gonna have to pull out and swap out. When you build them as a kit, you do get both those gear ranges in the kit. This, however, is the RTR. So it is nice. The axle is fully, completely built. Nice setup. Even got the string link, pretty much a plug and play or a drop in. It is cool. This new design AR45, really cool axle. I like the straight axle look on that. That's very nice. Hope to see this in a couple of their upcoming trucks. Do they have it in a truck yet? I don't even know. You can hear that thing is dry as a popcorn fart, so we're gonna have to go inside there before we put it in the truck, and we're gonna grease those up. We're gonna hit those with some Cow RC grease. Jesse, pick a color, yellow or green?
Going green, baby.
Okay, so we're gonna go with the yellow. Utter butter. This is super waterproof grease, Cow RC, super utter butter grease. This is the new blend stuff, guys. I got the red, I got the green. Because we're friends with them, they gave us the yellow to try out. This is the new stuff. I believe if you order it from them now, this is what you will get. Anyhow, Jesse is gonna load these diffs up for us off camera. You don't need to worry about that. 4 screws on the back, take it off, put a bunch in there, make sure it's good to go. Now, with winter coming around the corner, if you plan on driving the truck in the winter, don't put a ton of grease in there because it's going to get real hard on your motor to spin that grease. You're going to want to use a lighter grease and just a little bit. If you pack that with grease, you're going to start to burn up your motors in the cold temperatures. You'll notice you'll go out and the truck will get slower and slower and slower and slower and slower. I don't know if you ever put like grease in the crank on your bicycle or something and you try to ride it and you just can't. It just gives up. Same thing. So I don't know if I don't know how the Cow RC grease is going to hold up in the cold. We'll let you guys know as the winter progresses up here in Canada. But right now we're going to load that guy up and get those done. I'm going to pull those guys out and we'll catch you back in a few seconds. Okay guys, anyhow, Jesse popped these axles open and they had grease in them. They had a substantial nice amount of grease in them. Nothing cheesy. I was rolling around. The problem was they put the grease in, they didn't turn anything, so as I was going back and forth I was still only on the dry spots of the gears. So anyhow, we wiped that grease out, we put some Cow RC quality grease in there so we know we have good grease in there. We got both those axles ready to go. You know, the Portal axle is a prettier axle. The truss is wider, it's got some cool designs on it, these kind of reverse cut circle trusses, like little gussets in the truss, look really cool. It's the same on both sides, you know, this guy is hollow on this side, just kind of looks poor. And they changed the mount system where these got your 3-tab, these guys have your shock tab here and your link tab here, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. On our SCX6, it's the exact same axle, just bigger. We cut those off, moved our shocks down there, so we actually dropped the truck another 10 mils. So we're gonna see if those are gonna get cut off yet. So yeah, anyhow, I just wanted to jump back in to talk about this kit. This kit is designed to go with a 12.3 standard. It will work with the all wheelbases, but you're just gonna have to mess with your upper links. If you do it for 12.3, it's pretty much drop right in. You just swap out your top 2 links to these new ones supplied, 127.5 millimeters, and they're just a little bit shorter. They're like 3 or 4 millimeters shorter than the stock links. And with the Gladiator, you're gonna have to move your front links into the front upper hole. On these, they got 3 holes in there. Move them to the front upper hole, because what happens is you put it in, you end up with too much of a pinion angle towards the chassis like that. So we're going to move that forward, and we might just unscrew these guys just a little bit to ease off that, because you want to have your pinion angle and your output shaft at the same plane. The dry shaft links the two, but this should be flat to that. So you don't want it like this, you don't want it like that, right? Simple enough. So yeah, unfortunately, this one screw on this side will not clear the shift linkage unless you take this mount out. And to take that mount out, we need to take off this complete side so we can take the screws out, which are underneath the transmission. So pull the transmission, pull the side plate, pull that mount, move it forward, but we do have to pull out the transmission to do the gearing anyhow. So let's get going. Okay, so we kept the 90 millimeter stock shocks. We don't want this thing to look like a monster truck. These do have the mounts that I just discussed up here. We might be cutting those off and moving it down here. I need to get it complete finished up so we make the decision on that first. Otherwise, quick pointer, the manual does not tell you. The manual is going to tell you to bring all these out 1mm. It's a lie. Leave the bottom ones in. You can bring the top one out 1mm on both ends, so 2mm overall. And you're going to need to move all your top links to the inside holes to make everything work, and just a little bit of adjustment. What you're going to find is your shock's going to hit your upper panhard mount with not proper adjustment the way they have it set up under the manual. So you're going to want to go through and make sure it just clears. It doesn't need to clear by a mile, just enough so you can tuck a piece of paper in there or whatnot, so it's good enough. So anyhow, just so you put the transmission together, all you got to do is swap 2 gears inside. Very simple. And all we have to do is put this guy back together, put the wheels on it, and take it outside, and see how much better it performs and looks. But yeah, anyhow, we're going to get this guy back together. Stay tuned. We'll give you guys a reveal in a few minutes. Is it a reveal? We'll call it a reveal.
Let's reveal it.
Let's do it. Okay, guys, there you go. Back with the truck, looking fantastic. Body mounted on there. It's not pinned down, just sitting on there, but we got it in the mount, sitting nicely. We were going to go with the Pitbull PBX tires, but part of the problem with having such a long wheelbase, if you go with a small tire, it just didn't fit the look on it, so we ended up just going back with the tires that we already had chosen on here before, the good old RC 4-wheel drive Wrangler MTRs. Actually have those on my Jeep. Fantastic tire, love them. So yeah, only thing we're going to do now is we're going to limit some of this. We don't want the truck to ever get that high. It's going to bring our center of gravity higher than we want. It's going to make the truck really floppy. Plus, the rear of these trucks, because they have such long links in them, the links are about 6-7 inches long, they get really, like when the front end's up, the back end's just really floppy, you know, just kind of wants to sit over, like it's not enough. So, in the kit, you remember, we got the 100mm shocks, and we opted out on using these, which actually has a 5mm longer body and a 5mm longer shaft. We didn't want these because that would bring the center of gravity up, but the springs on them are a heck of a lot firmer, so we're going to start on the rear. We're going to put 2 of the 100mm springs onto the rear and hopefully stiffen this up a little bit because it's a little bit too soft, and then we might go on to the front. Plus, we're going to limit the shock shafts with some pieces of fuel tubing. We'll set that into... We'll take apart the shock, and that will go inside the shock shaft. So we'll pull this all apart, pull the shock shaft out, and that will sit in between here and here. So that will actually hold up the shock from its upstroke, its limit, or its downstroke limit, which is going to prevent how much it can articulate over this way, or it can lift up. So that's going to keep us riding nice and somewhat low, looking good. And then when we start off-roading, it's not going to get too crazy. As you know, articulation is good, but we like the bottom of the tire to sit at the top of the wheel, so pretty much in around there is what all you want. This side here, doing the same. I'll do it on this side. You can look, the tire tucks beautifully up into the fender. You don't need any more of that, but these Gladiators will just, like, they go, like, so the top of your tire would sit on the bottom of your tire would sit on the top of your tire, and that's just a little bit too much. You don't need all that articulation. It just becomes more to deal with. A truck with less can actually do more. So, yeah, we're going to pull the shocks off. We're going to put some fuel tubing pieces. We did these in the last video, I believe, to you guys. 10mm pieces. Cut those down. We'll throw them in. Little tip, remember to cut a whole bunch of them and then line up 4 of them that are perfect, because it's always kind of hard to measure and cut these out all the same. So just cut a couple chunks off, measure them, cut them, and then line up 4 that are perfectly matched, because you want your shocks to sit perfect, because if they're out just a little bit, the truck will sit funny. So, and then we'll do the 100mm springs on the rear, and then we're going to see if the front needs them. The front, because it has a shorter length and already has a heavier spring, it might be okay once we add these to the rear. So let's get that going. Okay guys, we got all the shocks off the truck. I figured I'd show you how to do this really quickly, just in case you're not smelling what we're stepping in when we talk about this all the time. So you want to take out all your old bad oil. This thing's brand new, so the oil's still brand new on this one. I like to use an old container so you can kind of perch them up there, let them drain out, get them all dumping, get them all going. Now these axial caps do have a set screw in the top that you're going to want to take that out to let that vent when you're reassembling them. It's also known as a bleeder screw. Okay, so now that we got all the old oil taken out, you're going to want to loosen the pack on the bottom. That takes the pressure off the O-rings, which keeps them compressed to lock onto the shaft to make a seal. Pull the shaft all the way out. You can use a rag and a pair of pliers, or if you get a fancy pair of shaft pliers that you should have bought 20 years ago and you just bought recently, you can use those. So. Take the rod end off the bottom, check and make sure the threads are clean and there's no sharp burrs or anything, because you're going to need to pass that through the O-rings. Now we went ahead earlier and as discussed, we cut I think 5 of these to, or 6 of these to 10mm, and we're going to find the 4 that match the most. You're going to put that onto the shaft, onto the bottom side of the piston. This will be your piston or your shock valve on the top. And make sure the holes are not plugged by the silicone, or else your shock will not function properly. Put that back in, cap back on the bottom. Shaft and rod end back together. And then bleed that out as you would normally. We're going to build them all and bleed them at the end. We're going to jump back in a few seconds to show you guys how to bleed them in just a second, and then we'll throw them back on the truck. And we got a few other mods to do to it, and then she's ready to hit the trail. So, okay guys, got those all reassembled, all cleaned up, ready to go. I'm going to show you really quickly. On the top of the cap, you've got the bleeder screw right there. You can just take that guy completely out. There should be a little plastic or rubber seal, but these don't have them, so don't worry about it. Just take that guy right out completely. Now you're going to bleed the shocks like you do any other shock. If you don't know how to bleed shock, we'll show you real quick. You want to push the shaft about halfway up of your stroke. Now our stroke's being limited, so that is our new strokes. We're going to push that into halfway. We are going to go with a 40 weight oil. The trucks recommend 35 weight. They come with 35 weight, but with the extra length and those huge long links in the rear, that causes a lot of fulcrum point, a lot of twisting, and a lot of leverage for the chassis to put onto the rear axle being so far away, so the shocks have a big job to do. So we're putting 40 weight oil on them. That's going to help with the slowing down, with the back and forth, and the tippity-tappity, and the hibbity-hoobity stuff, right Jess?
Yes.
Yes. So you want to put a couple, load her up to the top, bloop, bloop, bloop. And then you just slowly pull that down. You want the air that's underneath to work its way up. If you grab it, rip it down, you can actually pull air down through the top of the oil or into the oil, and it just makes the next little bit a pain in the butt. So go all the way down, bring it back up, but don't take it out of the oil. Leave it right there. Add a little bit more. I stop about a quarter of the way or whatever from the top. Bring the shaft up. Don't go out of the oil. Stop before you reach the surface. Go back down to the bottom. And you see the oil drops way down inside. If we were rich, we'd have another camera angle to show you guys what's going on here, but you have to take my word on it. Jesse, tell him.
Yes, I see it happening right now.
Jesse KPR. Live in the sky at 5. And yeah, fill it back up. Stop about, I don't know, quarter inch away from the top. Bring it back up. Go back down. Oil didn't drop, so we're getting a lot of the air out, obviously. Pull back down. Oil's staying now. So you see now, as we come up, oh, a little tall there, see? Got air in it now. So yeah, come all the way up, I'm gonna add just a little bit more. The trick is to do this, it's like pouring a beer and getting no foam in it. You want no air inside the oil. It takes forever to get out. And I think I mentioned in other videos, if you're not in a rush, you can just let this sit open. They have the shock stands you see with the holes in them, or you can just take box, poke holes in it, stand them up with the caps off, and just let the tiny little bubbles that we can't see in there just micro vent out. That's more for race car stuff where you're going to be hammering, the shocks to be actually doing something. So anywho, we've got the cap now with the bleed screw out, which is nice. Makes our life a little bit better and easier. What it does is make sure that air doesn't get trapped in. So I like to push my shafts all the way up. And I put my cap on. Don't pull it down. Don't dump it over. Put your set screw in. Preferably with a small O-ring or little something there, but these have a nice flat surface. And it's a decent screw. Don't over tighten it. And then you can pull it down. Yeah, perfect. Feels great. Just so you want to pull my thing and check it out. Oh yeah. We're getting banned. This is totally getting demonetized. Okay, anyhow, boom, done. On to the next. Keep these guys vertical till they go on the truck. It's always kind of nice to let the oil still settle. And yeah, we're going to slap the rest together real quick. I'm going to get this thing back together. We're going to tuck some bumpers in it, crap like that, get it ready for the trail. And we have a bunch of trailing videos coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. See you guys back in a few seconds. Okay, so we tried the yellow 100mm springs on the back. The fact that they are a heavier spring and a longer spring is no bueno. Our truck has this weird donk, kind of weird look. She's got some travel in the back, but no droop. It's just right to the max, where the front's got a nice bit of droop, right? So we stole some green springs off of our other 10.3, which are the same as what's on the front here. So we took the front springs off our other 10.3. He's all in pieces right now, waiting on a couple parts to come in and such. So we're gonna put these on the rear, take those yellow ones off, and we're gonna get this guy looking, sitting nice and flat. And yeah, so stay tuned, we'll be right back. Okay, there you go, guys. That is the recipe. That will work. Green shock springs on all four corners. The 40 weight oil in there still gives it a nice little ride. If you are filming and you want even kind of a better look to it, kind of slow motion and a lot of more scale looking, take all the shock oil out. That's a tip from Jesse on that one. And that actually makes the truck look a lot better. But we want this truck to perform smooth all the time and such for all of it. So anyhow, we got that little bit of droop we got in the back. It's not a lot, but it's there. Just a little bit. Perfect. We do have room to adjust the spring collars, but they're kind of sitting nice. I like that. articulation now is limited a lot more than remember it was before. Now we're getting the top of the bottom of the tire to the top of our rim, right where we want. So we don't want this to sit on top of the tire. We want that's the height we like. That's just what works for our type of crawling. We don't mind dragging belly over stuff. Just give it a little more throttle, get the belly over. Anyhow, truck is looking fantastic. Gladiator, big fan of this one. The next up, we're going to take the rear bumper. We're going to tuck that inside, cut the body a bit so we can get that in there to help close up this departure angle, if you would, a little bit. It's a little bit of a mess. The front end's fine. Great angle there. The bumper, I think, is already pushed back. Yeah, we already moved that guy in. So everything's sitting good there. We're going to tuck that into the rear, and we'll see you guys on the trail. It's very simple. You can just cut the body and cut the webbing. We'll show you that really, really quickly, and then we'll be out on the trail. See you guys right away. Okay, guys, so you're going to pull out the 2 set screws that lock the bumper in on the bottom. Park the truck off to the side. Now right inside of here you can see this webbing right there, that little support there. We got to cut that out so we can get this bumper to slide in a little bit more. I think, yeah, we're out of holes, so we're gonna have to drill a new hole, and then we can get that bumper to tuck in, and then we'll cut the body a little bit. So super easy, super simple. Great job for using your flush cuts. We're going to push this guy up there pretty much as tight as we can get that in there. We want that bumper pretty much tucked. Then we're going to throw the body on and make sure it's not in too far before we make that permanent. We still want a little bit of bumper sticking out on that booty. So it lines up pretty nice to where I'm going to want it. We're going to cut the body, make that fit. So far, so good. I'm happy with that. Also, you're gonna have to make 2 little small notches right above where the posts come in, so you can get the screw and your driver to go in there. I'm just gonna use the flush cuts to do a little triangle nip in there, and then I'm gonna clean that up with a knife. So, don't need a lot. So I'm going to come in about a 1/2 inch, and then just on a nice little angle up from the bottom here. Now that's going to be your rough cut. You're going to want to go through and actually sand that line out, because if you leave it just like that, it's going to crack and rip. So good. There we go. Get the rear bumper tucked in a little bit better. Looks a lot better. Truck's sitting good. Next up, I think we're going to play with the wheelbase just a little bit. You can see we're a little bit closer to the rear of the fender than we are if there was an imaginary line drawn out in the front of the fender. So what I think we're going to do is turn out our front links just a little bit. Give ourselves a little bit better pinion angle. We're going to lower the pinion angle, give us a better caster angle, and bring that front axle forward just a little bit. So these axial links have a hole in the middle, which is nice. You can bring it for, and then it's easy to keep track of too, right? There's a half a turn. Let's go over here, half turn. So we know they're both matched. Keep an eye on doing that. So now we're at 1 full turn here. Let's bring this guy right around. Another full turn there, right? So keep going like that. Now our pinion angle is sitting a lot more flat. I did move our wheelbase now forward just a little bit because it's kind of rolling it out with the bottom ones, right? The top one just more does in and out, but the bottom ones are going to push that axle out. So we just want to make sure as we're doing this that we do not bind up our shock to our upper panhard mounts on this truck right on this side. It is super close. You can see right now, in fact, it's already touching it a little bit. So the shock to panhard mount on this side here actually touches if it's set to the stock settings. So now that we push that out a little bit, it's setting, or it's hitting. Okay, about the best angle I can get. That guy's no longer touching, interfering. Yep, everybody's happy. Clearing, gain us a little bit of wheelbase in the front, get us a little bit better approach angle, tighten up that deep part angle. The only thing we got to do, guys, is clean up this ugly stock wiring. We're still running the stock electronics in the truck. We don't feel the need to upgrade them. This is kind of one of our novelty trucks. We kind of take it out on the trail, toot around. Nothing really too serious competition, or if we want to do some serious crawling, we're going to grab one of our Vanquish trucks or another one of our better built Axials. But Gladiator is a fun truck, great truck for just tooting around the trails. Now with the spring mod in the rear, they're limiting the shocks, they're moving in the bumper. Just going to make it better, better, better. So enough about this, you guys. Let's get it out on the trail. We'll talk about a few more things out there. See you out there in a few seconds.